Ahoy Plant Lovers! Today we're going to be talking about Mojito Colocasia. I've gotten 2 Colocasia pots of mojitos last year. They set me back about $20 each, and we now have upwards of 10 pots of them, which is one reason why I love them. They're very fast growing tropicals, and they're pretty hardy. We didn't lose a single mojito over the winter. We lost a lot of leaves and a few plants, mostly palm trees that were tender anyways, but we had a really cold winter, and I don't think we lost a single leaf on the Colocasia, which was pretty crazy. We did add some protection, like a blanket, but these guys are limey and grimy and freckled and speckled, and they're amazing plants. The mojito guys, we're going to talk about the soil. What I found has worked best for them for lighting and watering. A lot of times you get information out there, you don't know how they got their information. All this information I've gotten for you is through personal experience growing them in the past 2 years. So let's get into it. We have pots of Colocasia mojito, and we have in-ground mojito Colocasia. The ones in ground have done really well in filtered sunlight. They don't like drying out. That's like the #1 rule for Colocasia. As long as you don't let them dry out, you should be good. They can take a wide variety of sunlight, but again, the best sunlight for them is filtered sun, maybe 4 hours of direct sunlight in the day, or just kind of like constant filtered sunlight through the day. You can see here, these Colocasia are fairly newly planted, but through my experience, I knew that they were going to be happy here. They're at the bottom of a slope, so all the rainwater is going to slope down that slope and kind of collect on the mojitos down here. There's a lot of mulch, and the mulch is going to keep that moisture in the soil and keep the roots happy. When this soil dries up, you'll see the leaves kind of wilt, and you won't be able to keep more than 2 or 3 leaves at a time. This right here, this was one of my parent plants, and it's been in a pot, like this 1 gallon pot for, I don't know if it was a parent plant. I've lost track by now. They've grown so well. But one thing that you notice is they're very easy to propagate, because I started with 2 gallon sized pots, and we've just been slowly propagating them, and it's a fairly easy process. I've documented the process with pictures on our Instagram, and I've got video, and I've got to dig through my files to put that on YouTube. But what you do is you basically look for a leaf about this size. We have 2 in this pot. Let's see. This one would probably be a little too small to safely propagate, but this one over here is a separate shoot, and this is definitely easy enough to propagate this one off. And we've kept them in pots, the parent plants, just so they're that much easier to propagate. You can kind of take it somewhere and propagate it instead of digging down into the ground. But these are big enough to propagate, and what you do is these are clumping Colocasia. There's clumpers and clusters, and then there's the runners. The runners are actually much easier to propagate because they send out a branch, and you just pretty much have to sever that branch and then pull the plant up. But these clumpers are a little more difficult. You make a big cut at the root, and then you kind of slide your hand in there, get as much of the root ball as you can that's still attached to that plant, and you pull it up. And your hands will get dirty. You will get a lot of dirt under your fingernails, but it's a fun process. Make sure you keep it watered when you do that, and you'll have much better results. Okay, so I've talked about the lighting, the watering, and the soil. These guys are not very particular with their soil. You don't have to go out and get name brand soil. We're in Florida, zone 9A, and we have a lot of sand in our soil. We've added vermiculite when we have these special Colocasia, like this Pharaoh's mask. When we planted that, we added a lot of vermiculite into the sandy soil to help kind of retain that moisture. And you can get vermiculite at any of your big box stores, Lowe's or Home Depot. And you just add those to keep the sand wet longer, because sand dries out pretty quick in this Florida sun. You can see we've got a little bit of a microclimate here. Gives a lot of shade through the day. We have 2 palm trees kind of hiding this, and another one blocking the sun over here. And so it's kind of holding this the moisture in the air over here. We do get a lot of breeze, but most of all, Colocasia like sunlight. They like water more, and they'll grow really fast if you give them the right conditions. Here's another one in filtered sunlight. It's still in the pot. You can see some of the other plants. It's growing well around. We have the Monstera, the Deja Vu or the Xanadu, Philodendron, some other Colocasia back here, the Coal Miner and Illustrious. And you know, it's kind of sheltered, gets a good indirect light and occasional direct light. Here we have another Mojito Colocasia that is, oh no, there's a snail or slug. Gotta get that guy off. This one is pretty much in full shade until about 3 o'clock, and then it gets some direct western setting sun, and it's done well. It's in the ground. It has a lot of mulch around there. This is going to be its 2nd year in the ground over here. This one got really big last year, and I think by the end of the season, once the rain season starts, it's going to grow up real big. I think the bulb on that is a real good size. This Mojito Colocasia I would consider to be in full sun. It gets the same amount of sun as this orange bird of paradise, this lemon tree, this sugarcane, this harlequin cordyline. You know, lots of full sun plants, and you know, they can take the full sun. What they can't take is their soil drying out when they're getting full sun. So this guy is not going to stay here much longer. I shouldn't have left him here this long. I'm surprised he's doing as well as he has. He's probably got roots coming out of the bottom of the pot. I think I can even see some down there. And he's got a little baby coming up. A little baby Colocasia leaf. But these guys have been getting full sun. What's nice about these Colocasia, you can put them in a bucket of water. And you know, if you have to put them in full sun, put them in a bucket of water, and you're good with watering for the day. You know, you don't have to go out and water them 2 or 3 times a day. You can just leave them in a bucket of water. They'll soak it up, and they'll be happy. When they get dry, when their soil gets dry, the leaves are gonna, they're gonna like wilt up, and this is the oldest leaf on it. And you can tell these guys haven't dried out too much because the leaves are not like brown and crispy and yellow around the edges. It's just a little faded, that's it. And this guy's actually doing extremely well, but he needs to be in a bigger pot. I'm gonna probably put him in a bigger pot today. I will, you know, find some soil, add some of our compost soil in there, and just give him a 1 gallon pot. And he is probably root bound like crazy. He's been in this spot for about a month, and out of all our Colocasias, he's been getting the most sun, and he's doing fine. So that's kind of ironic because he's in the smallest pot. I think that's like a quart size pot. The other thing about potting is you'll see some of our pots are these kinds of pots where you know, they have basically 1 or 2 holes. We've had a debate on here about, you know, form over function. These nursery pots aren't the prettiest, but they have tons of holes for good drainage. You don't need that for these Colocasia, but I just go ahead and do it anyway. They're not very picky. They're fast growing. I love these guys because they're so fast growing. They're one of the fastest growing tropicals you can get, and they're pretty, and they're not too expensive, and they're fun to propagate. These are some propagated baby Mojito Colocasias. You can see they're doing well. We never lost a single leaf when we propagated these. You will notice sometimes, occasionally you'll get a wilted leaf. Sometimes all your leaves will kind of fold over and look wilted. but after 5 days, the 1 or 2 will perk back up. Now for our last mojito. Can you spot it? Probably not, because this is a reverted Mojito Colocasia. Did you know that they can revert? It's very rare. I believe that mojito's got to be a hybrid, and so it just kind of happens occasionally. This one came off of our parent plant, you know, same DNA. It reverted for some reason. I believe it started reverting in the same pot as the other one, so same light conditions and everything. I have seen it produce another speckled, so once it loses its you know, variegation, black variegation, it can come back. It's not a total goner. So I'm gonna keep my eye on that and see what happens next. You know, it's been in the ground for about a month now, and I expect maybe by the end of the season we'll get some more speckled leaves. But it's been very interesting, you know, to get a little variety. That stuff happens. That's cool. I'm guessing the mojito is a hybrid, but a hybrid of what? I don't know. One more note, fertilizer. My experience is I have not been fertilizing my plants unless you count the fertilizer beads, and I only use the fertilizer beads in the pots. I think I did not even add them to this guy. I should. Oh, actually I did. I think I see a fertilizer bead there. Yeah. So I did add a few fertilizer beads to these, but I don't add them to the ground. I add them to the pots. And you probably should. You know, I'm not saying that's the best way to do it, but I'm just saying that's what I do because I'm over here just growing a garden in my backyard. You don't have to fertilize these guys. They will give you bigger leaves, but just showing you my experience, what I do, and these are the results. You know, just keeping them wet, letting the insects and the worms and the soil do much of the work. I think that's about it. You know, a 1 gallon pot will set you back about $25 here in the United States. So they're fairly cheap, but they're a great plant. They can go just about anywhere, match anything. So they are one of my favorite Mojito Colocasias, and you really just can't go wrong with Mojito. All right, thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something new. Subscribe. Oh, subscribe to our channel and check us out on Instagram and join the Facebook groups, Alocasia, Colocasia, and Xanthosoma. We'll see you in our next video. Ahoy Plant Lovers.